What you just saw is footage found in the archives of the H.P. Longman Institute of Psychotronics, New Zealand. Founded by Paul Longman, it remained inoperative after his death in 2013. With it, documentation on several studies was destroyed or thrown away. This is how we got our hands on an old cardboard box with the tag Black Sun Project. The box contained vague information about an experiment carried out decades earlier. Started in 1970, the purpose of this project was to conduct further research into the effects of long-term depersonalization on 12 isolated subjects. 2 years later, it was cancelled and abandoned, leaving behind little evidence of what may have happened. The first file in the experiment is a handwritten piece of paper that reads, "Final arrangements have been made. We have interviewed our volunteers and they agreed to the instructions. Workstation is almost ready to be used. Hope to begin next year." The entry is simply dated 1969.
Hello, my name is John. You are here to conduct an experiment that you volunteered for. You have been administered a drug that slows down your perception of time. What may seem like months are simply a few days. In fact, this film had to be sped up for normal playback.
Let it be known that this is the full, unedited footage as we found it.
You are now inside your room. You will not be leaving this room until the opponents arrive. Your purpose here is to train in order to be able to physically defeat your opponents. The necessary training equipment is at your disposal. You will be fed 3 times a day. As payment for your food, you have to send a daily journal entry through the special pipe. To activate the pipe, simply look into the red light until you hear the beep. Just remember, your responsibilities are train and make a daily journal entry.
There is no trace of the workstation or the rooms. 12 personal specifications are made for each test subject. They feature basic information such as gender, height, age, and medical history, while the subjects remain unnamed. So what happened after the project was abandoned? Were they just released? Along with the specifications came 12 different envelopes, each containing hundreds of handwritten pages, about 2 years' worth of a nervous breakdown. The oldest pages contain little text and are written in distress. The final pages, however, are filled with endless thoughts and recollections. Funny thing is, it doesn't seem like any of the volunteers was aware that the project was to be discontinued. But there's something unusual about one of the volunteers, Subject 8. Unlike the rest, Subject 8's journal is over 4,000 pages long. Most are undated, but the last page that keeps track of time goes all the way to 1979. And it isn't the last one. The last entry is a cipher that we barely got figured out. And this is the entry before the cipher. It was written just the day before. Like all other participants, not much is known about the identity of Subject 8. It is possible that he was also in charge of the experiment, which he continued strictly on himself even after the project was cancelled. With this in mind, the handwriting in the 1969 file looks similar to the one found in Subject 8's journal. So we figured he probably had something to do with the institute. However, the only person associated with it was Paul Longman himself. So we sent an email to his website asking whether or not Paul mysteriously vanished between 1970 and 1980. After about a month, we got an answer that said he didn't. Whoever Subject 8 was, 10 years of intense physical training and being isolated for such a long time led to what? A lunatic with superhuman strength? We didn't have much time to do the analysis of the cipher, so consider this to be a really short overview of our ideas and suggestions. At first, we wrote a small program that sequentially tests keywords used in various positions. It then runs a 1,000-word dictionary to see if the chosen combinations allow a maximum of common words to be placed, which is followed by a ranking algorithm to highlight the most promising results. We ran about 150 million tests on the cipher, but cracking it using brute force requires a massive amount of computing power. And besides, whoever wrote it probably misspelled a lot of words precisely so that the dictionary attack doesn't work. We took a closer look at the cipher and found 3 interesting points. Number 1, the first 2 symbols in the cipher are MY, which kinda looks strange. Number 2, in the second line the symbols 4, 7, 10, and 13 could be interpreted as body. Number 3. There are exactly 12 V's in the cipher, forming a circle. This reminds of the black sun symbol and of course the 12 people who took part in the experiment. So could there be a hint? Let's take another look at the circle. Clockwise, V number 8 has a horizontal line driven through it. This could be a reference to the fact that subject number 8 is the one who wrote this, but take a look at this penultimate entry. I spent a while trying to find something related to this, but nothing turned out conclusive. To know the aftermath, we'd have to be sure that the whole thing actually did happen. We can't prove that, but either way, I have a theory. Subject A's diary has exactly 4,097 pages, the last one being the cipher itself. That leaves 4,096 pages, which is 8 to the power of 4. And guess what? Every 512 pages, there's a special number. Overlay these pages and you get 8 special numbers placed in a spiral. 1970 to 1982. My guess is that this was the actual runtime of the experiment. Knowing that the project did last for a decade, we sent another email to the Paul Longman website, this time asking for a couple of photos of him. One taken before 1970 and another after 1980, as close to the date as possible. We wanted to see whether or not he underwent any physical transformation during that time, but unfortunately, we didn't get a reply. The orientation film appears to show a few sketches, but if the workstation is real, the location of the room should be close, if not inside the Institute. But where exactly were the rooms? The answer is simple: inside the archives. The Institute occupied a 2-story house built in the 1950s. As far as I can remember, the house has a basement of about 100 square meters, which was previously used as an archive. The basement has no windows and there's only one way in, a built-in staircase about 1 meter wide. This leaves just enough room for 12 compartments that can be individually reached for a hallway large enough for a man to walk through. Anything could have been in there, but there's one more thing to back me up. Black Sun Project, as we now assume, was ended in 1982. That's 2 years before the Institute was even founded. However, the house was acquired in 1973, 1 year after the experiment was allegedly stopped, which would mean that it remained unused for 11 years. It could be nothing and I won't spend any more time with it, but if I ever go back to the house, we'll see. So, what happened to the other volunteers? Fortunately, we found a pretty useful New Zealand missing persons list, only to find out that the oldest record is dated 1978. Anyone gone missing before that is either thought to be dead or has been found. But that's not the case here, because nothing happened against anyone's will. Whoever the volunteers were, all dropped out of the project but for one, subject number 8. Who was this man and what happened to him after the experiment? We know that he got out in 1982. Whatever he did after that remains a mystery, perhaps until we figure out the cipher. We spent a year looking over the project and this is what we found. We could have come up with more information but got really bored of reading through self-absorbed diaries. And one more thing, unless you have already noticed, I made it all up.